Hello, I'm Wendy Falk, and I'm here today with Stewart Willis from Asset Preservation, Tax and Retirement. How are you, Stewart? It's great to have you here.
Great, Wendy. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Stewart, we're going to talk about how the world has changed as of late. Everyone out there is aware of it. We've all been in our homes. We can't go shopping. We can't go out to eat. We're losing money. How are you helping your clients in this crazy world?
Well, first of all, I never thought I would see this day. It has just completely changed the way we interact, the social relationships. It is a change. And, I'm personally very used to having close personal relationships with our clients. And it has been tough to make the transition over to Zoom and other sort of, teleconferencing and so forth. I really do like that one-on-one interaction. But you know what? I know we're going to get back there one day. So I look forward to that. But no, it's, we've always been a very clean operation in the sense that my wife always jokes about me being a bit of a clean freak. And, now it's all working out. So we make sure that, all of our employees are a little more conscious about sanitizing and cleaning as people come and go. And it's from an operations perspective, we just have to be more aware of that kind of thing.
I think you said your wife's a nurse, right?
She is, yes.
We nurses, we're a little bit of a germphobe, right?
Right.
Well, that's great. So when your clients, they aren't probably coming to your office right now, so how are you connecting with them?
Well, you know what, it's interesting because I'm a big fan of letting people make a choice as to how they want to communicate. I don't want to impose my position on them. So we still have a bunch of clients that really do want to come in, have that personal interaction. The beauty of our operation is that we've really been able to adapt. We honor all of the social distancing rules, and so we make sure to keep a nice 6-7 foot distance between us and the clients, and we've been able to adapt with technology if that's what they choose.
Okay. Well, in regards to that, it sounds like you've got guys have that all under control.
Yeah.
How are you helping your clients with all of the craziness that's gone on in the market and all the volatility? How are you keeping them calm and helping them do the right thing? Well,
the nice thing about what we do is that we have a lot of ways of communicating with our clients. And I think the last few months here have really been a sign as to whether or not your advisor is good at communicating with you. And I think people feel really left alone right now that, they've been paying these fees or these commissions to their advisor for years. And when things get rough, they just don't hear from them. Or, if you're in the same exact position you were in before this occurred, well, what are you paying for, right? If there hasn't been any sort of alterations to the perspective or the portfolio, what are you really paying for? And so I think more than anything, clients want communication, but they also want to know that there's a plan in place. And the reality is that while most other advisors have just come to a screeching halt in terms of our business, we have been busier than we've ever been. And the reason is because for the last several years, we've been preaching the same thing. Have a plan, know what to do in case one of these catastrophic events happen. And, we're not trying to sell our services out of fear. We want to make sure that if something happens, you have a plan in place.
Right.
And quite honestly, the clients that we visited over the last couple of years that may not have thought we were the right fit because they gave their existing advisor the benefit of the doubt, are just pouring in the door now. I mean, it's been unbelievably busy for us. So while most people are seeing a slowdown, we're really seeing an increase of business coming in, and we're seeing some of our snowbird clients. We're in the snowbird capital of the world in Arizona here, and we're seeing a lot of our clients from Canada that we can now communicate with, via Zoom, and it's made them comfortable. So we've altered our practices in the sense that we're doing more of that, but believe it or not, it's increased our business.
Well, that's a testament to the fact that you provide your clients with a service.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Well, I always say, never hire anyone you're not willing to fire when it comes to business. Yes, we do build real relationships. And I really do expect that if I'm not doing my job for my clients to say, hey, you know what, it's time to part ways.
Yeah.
Hopefully that day doesn't come, and we haven't seen much of that here, over this very crazy time in the market, because we've communicated well, and we've really held the hands of our clients, whether it's physically or virtually. We're there for them.
Well, it's always about communication. It sounds like you do that great, and your clients really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, Stewart, let's go on to one of the first things we want to talk about, and it's a big deal when you talk about the money that people have had to part with this recent crisis that we've had, and it's a good way to maybe help them keep a little bit of it, and that would be how you can avoid tax risk. Would you like to talk a little bit about that in the effect of, say, what would you think is the number one strategy that can help people avoid tax risk?
Well, it's, tax is in the name of our company, asset preservation, tax, and retirement. And the reason it's there is because we believe we can achieve very similar results to portfolios with substantially more risk, because we're more efficient in the tax planning side of it. We have a year-round tax office. We had 2 CPAs, an enrolled agent, and a certified tax preparer this year during the tax season. And we keep on staff year-round, part of that staff. And the reason we do it isn't for tax preparation. It's about tax planning, about making sure that we have a real plan. Because when we have all that data, all that information, what we can now do is not just talk in generalities. A lot of advisors will say, hey, the Roth is good or the IRA is good, but they won't really prove it. And so what we do is provide cash flow plans for clients to show them why it's better, how it's better. And sometimes taking the tax hit now makes a lot more sense. With all of the stimulus packages we've been seeing roll out here lately, the reality is one day somebody's going to have to pay for that. Right? We are in the most efficient tax window in history right now. If you're not taking advantage of this environment, your advisor is not doing their job. And that's a hard thing for me to say, right? I'm very supportive of our industry. I love seeing, everybody do a good job. There's plenty of business out there for everybody. But the reality is that most advisors aren't even allowed to talk about tax. They're prohibited by their firms from talking about it. That's precisely why we created a tax office, was for tax planning purposes.
Well, that makes you stand out from other advisors as well.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like it is an unfair advantage here in our business. And listen, it's not, it's a tough thing having 800 clients, 700 clients coming through during tax season. This season is a little off because it's stretched out. We don't know who's going to come in between April and July. We'll see how that unfolds, but it's allowed us to stay in front of our clients that one extra touch.
Okay. Well, Stewart, we're going to have to take a break, but before that, I want to open up our phone lines. We've got a lot of calls coming in, and you're going to offer the next 10 callers a complimentary financial review. Is that correct?
Yeah, that sounds great. I think right now people need help, and for the first 10 callers, if you call our number, I'm more than happy to help.
And that's a $2,000 value. So the next 10 callers, please give us a call and you will get that complimentary financial review for free, for complimentary. Stewart, we're going to have to go to a break, but we'll be right back.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back. We're here with Stewart Willis from Asset Preservation, Tax and Retirement. Stewart, good to be back with you.
Good to see you again, Wendy.
Stewart, before we went to the break, we were talking about how to avoid tax risk.
Yep.
One thing I wanted to ask you is it possible for viewers to reduce their taxable income by contributing money to a 401k or similar retirement plan at work?
Well, you know what? For years, we've been told that the 401k was really the place to put our money. And the nice thing is that when you have companies that will add or contribute to your 401k and add some matching to it, it's a very efficient thing. It's a great thing, right? But what we're starting to see now, and by the way, you were told that because you were told that when in retirement, your tax rate would be lower than when you're working, right? Let's go ahead and defer that. And people love seeing that their tax rate is lower or that they're paying less taxes while they're working. They're saving taxes. But what they weren't told is that by creating all of that tax deferral in there until retirement, they're now making certain income streams taxable that don't necessarily have to be. Social Security, for example, right? So Social Security doesn't have to be taxable in every situation. If you have an efficient plan, some of our wealthiest clients, for example, don't pay any taxes on Social Security at all. Because it's all about the efficiency, the design of their plan. If you don't have a written plan, if you don't know what your plan is, then that's when these tough times occur, COVID, all of these things, and you're just lost. You're out there scrambling, right?
Right.
You know, I always say it would be like Aaron Rodgers, who was, I like Aaron Rodgers, not because he's at Green Bay, but because he was a Cal grad. I attended Berkeley, where I did not participate in any of the recent riots or uprisings, but I did.
Good to know.
Yeah, but I did attend there. But no, I mean, if he went out into the huddle and just said, all right, guys, let's go have a good time, run wherever you want, well, the players are going to get lost. It's going to be a disaster. But they already know what they're going to do ahead of time. The reason he's so great is because he's going to say, okay, you know, Thunderbird 2, and they have a play in mind and they know what to do. There's a contingency plan. And that's exactly what we have. We know exactly what we're going to do ahead of time. Now, don't get me wrong. We had to call an audible a time or two here during COVID, right? We didn't see some of the technology issues coming up and so forth, but we were ready. We had most of it covered. But it's the same thing when it comes to taxes. We're planning years and years in advance. We're not allowing that big tax time bomb to develop for our clients. And don't get me wrong. I mean, we are in the heart of Sun City Surprise, and the reality is that a lot of those clients have these big IRAs, these big 401ks, and a lot of our planning revolves around talking about how to diffuse that tax time bomb over time.
Well, Stewart, I've taken a look at your website. It's very well done.
Thank you.
And if anybody needs to talk with Stewart or get in touch with them, go to their website or give him a call. He'd love to sit down with you and talk about how you can reduce your taxable income. Stewart, let's move on to another subject because we have lots to talk about today. 12 ways you can optimize your portfolio. What exactly is rebalancing a portfolio, and is it necessary, and especially at this point in time?
Right, so rebalancing, in your typical static asset allocation model, let's just say that you're a moderate investor or a balanced investor, and in a 60-40 stock bond split is appropriate for your risk tolerance historically. What happens is quarterly or biannually, the advisor will typically make sure that those proportions are in order there. But that's a static approach. We approach things much differently. We're, in general, more tactical by nature. And what we mean by that is if you are in the same exact plan at the beginning of COVID that you are right now, what are we really accomplishing? We have a whole different set of risks that exist now than existed back then. Right? So you need to make sure that your money manager, your financial advisor isn't just looking at rebalancing, because that's easy, right? That's just a computer program making everything equal again. We need to make sure that you have a plan and that there's a plan in place. It's that Aaron Rodgers analogy, right? We need to know what the plays are ahead of time. And if a certain scene presents itself, that we know what we're going to do in that case. So rebalancing to us works in a static model, not quite in a tactical model, in our opinion. And we are more tactical than static.
Well, we were talking a little bit before we came on, and we were talking about the drawdown.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so most advisors, when they talk about their plan, they talk about what you're going to make, not about what you're willing to lose. And I think there's certain talks that you just have to have with clients. You have to be honest about what their real risk tolerance is. And what drawdown is, to break it down in a simple way, it means loss. Advisors don't like talking about loss in general. We have to. I mean, our clients are, our average client is 58 years old. So they're at a point in their life where they don't want to take that kind of risk that they once could. And honestly, remember, we've been in this amazing market for the last decade. A blind chicken could have picked stocks that made money, right? Now, this is the time that really separates the good from the bad.
Right.
And when it comes to picking your risk tolerance levels and understanding drawdown, we have to understand, and when we do a risk tolerance review, we want to know exactly how much are you comfortable in losing, right? Are you comfortable with 5%, 10%, 12%, 20%? And what we say is that it's important to make sure that you take the least risk necessary to achieve your goal. And some of that is zero, and it's okay. If you're saying, it, look, I am not comfortable losing a penny, that's okay. It's not for everybody. The market isn't for everybody, and that's okay. And that's the nice thing about asset preservation, tax, and retirement is that we have all of the options on the table. We're product agnostic, we're fiduciaries. We are not beholden to any one type of investment. So we want to make sure we have a plan that really does fit the individual.
And I'm sure your customers, they just truly appreciate all that you're able to do for them. It's very interesting that you have someone on staff that can help them with their taxes as well. It's a good tax plan for them.
Yeah, in year round, listen, whether they do their taxes with us or not, that's not the point of our tax office. People eventually say, hey, you know what, since you're doing all the planning, why don't you do the taxes? And that's great. Our tax operation is for the planning, not just preparation. Because remember, preparation is just entering a bunch of numbers, entering the 1099 numbers. I mean, they're very, you're just pushing buttons. The magic is in the plan. That's really where the whole value of why we want all of those clients to do taxes with us. That's where it all, manifests into this really great plan.
Yeah, and the plan is always key in all retirement planning.
No question.
Definitely. Well, what about, how do you guard? Okay, we're in a situation right now where people have experienced huge losses with their portfolios. How do you guard against those huge losses like in 2008 and when recessions hit, and losses that have occurred now?
Well, first and foremost, have a plan, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, the nice thing is that what we're seeing is that people that have had those static approaches, those, kind of, the broker would pick 5 or 10 different mutual funds, you feel well diversified. What you want to know is whether you really are diversified or not.
Right.
Right. And so we do a really neat in-depth portfolio x-ray to really dive deep into whether or not you have portfolio overlap. What are the fees that you're paying? All of that's really, really important. The nice thing is we haven't had to handle that kind of, question in people are watching the news and they are freaking out.
Yes, they are.
And what we're seeing is that clients, we're in a very defensive position right now in most of our portfolios. And clients are calling in saying, oh my gosh, I got to get out of the market. I see it's down 4% today. And I say, but look at your portfolio. And they're not down 4%.
Yeah.
In their portfolios in general. Stop watching the news. Listen, if you could turn off the TV other than my TV show once a week.
Yeah, I gotta watch
that.
that.
Right, that's it. You can watch Joel and I, and then that's it, right? No, but it's quite honestly, it's people are being fed all of this information on these TV channels, and the problem is there's not one story. If you watch this news channel, you believe this. If you watch this news channel, you believe that.
Right.
And those are two separate realities that we're living in right now. What we hope to do is cut through all of that noise to really make sure that, it's like a captain of a ship with no radar system on there. We want to just hold steady, make sure that you have a plan, that we know exactly where we're going. And quite honestly, over the last couple months, it's been crazy in the market, but we're not losing people. We're not seeing people run away. Now, some people are just saying, look, this is too crazy. I want no market involvement.
Right.
And it's really tested those people.
Yeah.
But, I think by having a plan, it's really settled things out.
Well, I think this would be a great time, Stewart. You're offering the first 10 callers, I believe, that
Sure.
complimentary financial review. It's a $2,000 value. So give us a call. The phones have really been ringing, but keep trying because you will get through. We're going to go to break, but we'll be right back.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back. Stewart, how are you doing? We haven't been gone long.
No, we haven't. Doing great.
Yeah, let's continue our conversation before we went on break about ways to optimize your portfolio. Is there a certain age where people should limit their exposure to the stock market in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we found here in this volatile time is that people realize, everybody knows the saying, buy low and sell high, right? The problem is not a lot of people do it, right? Because they overreact when the market's down, or they pull out at improper times. But we believe that there's always a place to make sure in your portfolio that you have a certain amount of assets that are off to the side, safe and immune. We call that dry powder. So if a rainy day occurs and you have no dry powder to shoot when you're out hunting, it's going to be tough, right? So it's important to make sure that that ballast or that safe part of your portfolio is in there. And we think that there's a certain portion that should be there. Now, what we've seen lately is people have said, okay, well, let's change our bias. Let's move a little bit more towards a safer posture.
Okay.
And in some positions, people will say, well, should we be selling low? Well, I would ask if we're really low or not. The market's had this amazing run. If you look at the curve of the S&P 500, I mean, we're back to where we were a year and a half ago or so. But that's after a massive decade run in the market. So there are some risks out there that still exist, and are we at the bottom? I don't know. If I knew exactly where the market was going, I'd be on my 500-foot yacht in the south of France right now, and but the reality is that nobody knows exactly.
No.
So that's why it's important to make sure you have a plan, that you have all the contingencies in place, so that if another major event happens, or if this thing gets worse, that your whole life savings isn't going to go down the tubes,
Yeah. Well, Stewart, how do you keep track of so many different retirement investment accounts for your many clients? That sounds like a daunting task.
Right. Well, that's an amazing question. And what I'm seeing is a lot of financial advisors will tout these very, very personal individual stock portfolios where they're picking specific stocks just for you. The problem with that is that if you've got 700 clients and there's a move in the market, do you want to be the 700th client they call for that day?
That would be no.
Right? Right. So, I mean, when we're seeing 3-4% changes in the market in a day and things start to unravel quickly, you want to make sure that you can handle everything simultaneously. And so that's why we rely on some of the best institutional money managers in the world. We have the biggest money manager in the world, and in my opinion, we have one of the best. So we're comfortable whether you have, $100,000 to your name or $10 million to your name. We're comfortable managing all aspects of wealth management. We're in a position to handle everything no matter what happens.
Yeah, that's a wonderful service that you offer to your clients. I'm sure that when they come in to see you, they're like, oh, gosh, we're just going to get everything done while we're in here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's why we have the tax office built in as well. So.
Well, Stewart, do you want to tell our viewers what you're going to be offering the next 10 callers?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be offering for the next 10 callers a complimentary portfolio analysis. And I know the lines are busy. If you can't get through, try again. But for the first 10 callers, we're going to go ahead and offer that $2,000 value complimentary review of your portfolio. And you will walk out of the office with our prescriptions for success.
If you've been watching today and would like to talk with Stewart or a member of his team, please give them a call. He'd love the opportunity to sit down and talk with you. Stewart, it's been great having you on the air.
Thank you. It's been fun.
It's been a pleasure. Lots of great information, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.